Welcome to Brains on Games. I'm Dr. Brian McDonald, and this episode we're going to talk about a game that's all about music. The folks who created Lord of the Chords sent me a copy of their game. This is a game that can be played with kids and adults age 14 and older. You can play it with between 2 and 4 players, and it plays in about 45 minutes, and it's all about music theory. Now, I'll put this out of the way, but I'm going to be honest with you. I know next to nothing. Well, I shouldn't even say next to nothing. I know absolutely nothing about music theory. So much about this game went right over my head. But I'll tell you what, it's very evident from this game, from my reading of the rules and my examination of the cards, that this is something that is kind of a deep dive into music theory and some of the concepts that people who are learning to play instruments or read music or who are learning about music are going to find useful and helpful. Let's take a look at these components down here. So you can see we've got a couple of decks of cards with some cards that are laid out. Right here is a stack of the instruments or the player powers that you're going to have. So each person is going to be a different kind of musician or going to play a different instrument. There's vocalists in here and even a DJ, and that gives them a certain ability that they can use during the game. So a DJ gets to discard some of their cards and draw new ones, and the bass player can finish a chord, we'll talk about that in a second, and then get some extra sharp and flat tokens, accidental tokens they're called. So I'm going to get these instruments out of the road here. And let's take a look at the main part of this game, which are the key signatures that you're going to be using to collect chords. Collecting 3 chords, completing 3 chords is going to win you a game of Lord of the Chords. And these are the key signatures that show the different chords that are in key that are going to be legal for you to try and play in that particular round. So C major, you can see here, the top row of notes are the notes that are in key or that are going to be useful to play to obtain that chord. And the columns are the chords that you'll be playing. So you play 3 cards in a group in order to collect that chord. And then the person who collects it is going to be the one who chooses the next chord that's going to be played. So there's a whole stack of these chords that you can choose from. One thing that I really, really like about these chord cards is not only does it show you the notes that are in key. I mean, what a great thing for somebody who's learning music to learn about. But it also, on the bottom, you can see the notes on the staff. So you've got the treble clef and the bass clef. And the third one that I didn't recognize it at all. So hopefully there'll be a musician in the audience who can clarify that one for me. But you can tell that it's going to be B minor when you have those 2 sharps on your staff. The C sharp and F sharp are the 2 sharp notes there. So again, if you're learning to read music, this is going to help with that recognition. Now, as a parent who might be playing the game with your kids, you may need to encourage them to take a look at that so that they notice it. But yes, so what you're trying to do is play cards with notes that match, the 3 notes in the column here. Here are the notes. This perfect pitch card is like a wild card, okay? But the other ones are pretty typical of what you'd see in this deck of notes. So you start out your turn by drawing 3 cards, and it can be any combination, of cards from this from the 6 that are shown. There's a deck of actions, and this is where the puns come in. They advertise this game as the punniest music theory game, and it certainly does. It certainly does live up to that statement. But the action cards are going to be a number of puns that you can do, and they might allow you to steal a chord from another player who's captured one, or it might allow you to play some extra notes. There are lots of different actions that you can take here. And these are the notes that you'll be playing to win the key signature card to complete a chord. Again, just like here, look at this. You've got not only the note, you've got the staff, the treble clef and the bass clef, and it shows where that note is on the staff. You've also got a picture of the piano key. That's the key that goes with that note. So if you're learning to play the piano, it's another way of exposing you to that information. Here's the key that will allow you to play that note. Now, one thing that's really neat, I think, about this game is that if you go to the website, the Lord of the Chords website, you'll find they have replacement cards for these notes. Let me show you. So you can get like a more complete picture of a piano keyboard and the note will be lit up on the card, or you can have guitar strings that show you where the note is on the various strings. You can have a flute or a violin and it shows you the note. So depending on what instrument you're learning to play, you've got different options here to make the information more relevant, more recognizable. Okay, so like I said earlier, some of these action cards might allow you to steal a chord. You've got these little guitar picks that say major or minor, and once you've completed a chord, there's a way that you can play that pick on there that prevents it from being stolen. You've got these great little chips that are the sharps and flats that you can add to your note to change it somehow so that it will be in key for that chord. And there are ways that you can earn those tokens through the game. The box that they sent me has this great big piano box, which allows you to store all of the cards and bring it with you. You saw how big the actual box is, but this is a smaller way of storing it and transporting it in case you want to bring it with you to class or something like that. And if you flip it over, it's a piano keyboard, so you can see examples of those notes that you're going to be playing when you play the game. So let me close that. I'll get it out of the way. And so there you have it. That's Lord of the Chords in a nutshell. It's a game that requires working memory because you are tracking a lot of information as you're looking at these key signatures and figuring out what notes are in key and what notes go together to make a complete chord. You're tracking the cards that you have in your hand and matching up those sets. But it's really what we're talking about is kind of a deep dive that exposes the players to lots of different elements of music theory. The box that they sent me is the biggest box that they have, so it's got the big piano box, and it's got also some packs of extra cards that add to the complexity of the game. So I didn't even open those because it was complicated enough for me as it is. But there are lots of options. There are even variant rule sets where it simplifies things. So students as young, or music students, I guess, as young as 8 years old can play a version of the game, or you can make things more complicated in terms of the options that are available to you. So there's lots of ways to play. The components, like I said, are great. There's so much stuff in the box, and there's even more at the website. And Lord of the Chords actually is going to enter its second printing in the fall, so it's going to go up on Kickstarter again to allow more people to have access to this music theory game. As usual, if you have any suggestions or questions for me, you can find me at brian@brainsongames.ca. Brainsongames.ca is the website where you'll find past episodes, and future episodes will go there too. Brains on Games is the Twitter feed and the Instagram feed and the Facebook page, so we're all over the place. And if you like this episode and you'd like to be notified about future episodes, you can head on over to YouTube and click that subscribe button. Thanks for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you next time.